What we are doing here is we are doing a full restoration on a Macintosh Classic. It's been a while since I've had this machine apart. I bought this 3 years ago at the local Hamfest, but it's not a full restoration. It's going to be a, pretty close to full because the analog board isn't 100% recapped, but it's close enough. So, what we're going to do is clean up the chassis because it is a complete mess. Because the back's been off of it for a while, and plus it drags all the dirt into the fan. And of course, we're going to lubricate the bearings in the fan. And I haven't seen a fan made by Canon in a long time, actually, if ever. So we're going to clean all that nastiness out of there. Then we're going to get all the dirt off the CRT. Dirt tends to conduct electricity, and that's the last thing we need with high voltage. So we're going to pull the CRT out, and then we're going to take the yoke off, which is this guy here. And we're going to clean it up really well. Just careful not to get anything in the anode cap, because that would be a very bad idea in a lot of different ways. So many ways that I can't even name them all. So, yeah, funny. Made in Singapore. Blech. Anyway, the floppy drive has been lubricated, and here's the key points with this. And I didn't use silicone grease, which I should have, but I used a lubricant called Zoom Spout, and you can just see the lubricant in there. I lubricated the drive shaft from the stepper motor that runs the head assembly. Whatever you do not ever twist this motor in either direction, or you'll take out the track alignment. And if you ever get one of these drives where the track is out of alignment, replacing this, turning this motor will help. But you need a known good reference disc to do that. So, back to what I was saying. Lubricated the key points in here, the top slide rail there, have been lubricated. Over here, all these mechanisms here have been lubricated. The two key points there, and way down in here, you can, it's kind of run. I gotta get in there with a Q-tip and clean up that, but you can see 4 slide points in there that have been lubricated. Another thing too, as you can probably already tell, is there's capacitors on this drive which will eventually need to be replaced. There's a couple in there, some up front, and I'm not sure where else. Other thing, the eject motor mechanism has been lubricated. I will warn you, if you haven't already figured this out, do not try to operate these drives without lubrication. And the reason why I say this is, if this mechanism gets stuck, the eject motor will attempt to force the mechanism, and obviously it can't. So what will happen is it will shear the already brittle gears that are inside that motor. So, and when you know that happens is when the motor gets stuck, or when you do an eject, you hear the motor spin, but the disc won't pop out. You'll know what happened. Yeah, that's bad. So, got to clean I already cleaned the RAM card because it was pretty nasty as well. Clean the front of the case, and actually the case itself has seen better days because not only is it yellow, which is not really a concern, but there's a lot of scuffs. I mean, it's really bad, and I tried cleaning them and they won't come out. Now, I don't know what I can use to get those out. Maybe a magic eraser or something, but you got to be careful because it is a fine abrasive, and you will take out the texture, and that would be bad. That would be really bad. So, and as you can tell, there's a little bit of battery damage. Luckily, it didn't get on the original main board, because the original main board is right over here. This is the original analog board, and that's the original main board. You can see some capacitor goo kind of associated with it, but yeah, there's really no battery damage, and the board did actually work, but all the capacitors in here started leaking, so we're going to put some new ones in. There's another one that's been fully recapped, and And then there's the new replacement logic board that has been recapped. We are going to put that in there instead. So without further ado, thank you for watching. I should also note that it is painfully obvious that this thing is going to need some retro brighting in the very near future, because we've got some scratch bleaching marks. You can see the texture is gone, so I don't know if I can do anything about that. But when I clean this face off here in the sink, I noticed, look at where the label used to be, it fell off. That is the original color. This is what it looks like now. So as you can probably tell, the original color is not so original anymore. You can almost see the color difference in the floppy disk drive slot. But even under here, you can tell I got all the grunge off that was around the border of where the CRT went. So yeah, that's fun. Move that out of the way. There's the screws that go to the CRT. I went ahead and lubricated the fan motor, and you can see the oil kind of seeped out into the label a little bit, but there can never be such thing as too much oil. Well, I guess it can be, but in this case I'm not really worried about it. But that fan is certainly a whole lot cleaner than what it was before. So is the floppy disk drive. It's a whole lot cleaner than what it was before. But the only thing you can see lacking here is the hard disk drive. I don't know what happened to it. I probably boxed it away into this mess over here somewhere. Probably down in that box, all the way at the bottom. But this is the first time in my life I'm actually organized, and all these boxes here are empty. So, there's another problem that these things have too, is the speaker. These things tend to open up. And I think that's because one of these capacitors actually goes bad and causes it, but I'm not certain offhand. But yeah, I wouldn't trust all these, all these capacitors here are going to have to be replaced. The sweep capacitors have to be replaced. They all have to be changed. And another thing that happens to the classics as well is there is an opto isolator that forms the feedback circuit to keep the voltage regulation in check. This goes bad, and you'll know when they go bad because it'll start off at say 12 volts or 5 volts, and it'll slowly fall, or it'll start up real low and then slowly rise. And if you heat this up or chill it down with a can of compressed air upside down, it'll throw it way out of whack, and then you got to change it. Another thing that goes in these is these safety capacitors down here will blow up. And actually, no, not this style. It's the yellow box metal films that go. Yeah, so we've got the motherboard and the new fresh battery. And then, let's see, I'll pull that out. I don't need that right now, or that, but I do need this. Take this guy back to the workshop kitchen of doom, disaster, or despair, and sometimes for heroics. I don't know, whatever. But we'll go ahead and put that in there and get this bad boy reassembled. Now I got all the parts completely spread out across the counter here. Got the CRT out. This is fragile. There's still a kind of a sticky goo around the CRT that I just can't get out, but look at that burn-in. That is bad. I wish I had another CRT, but I don't. You can definitely tell things toast. But that's not the point here. The point here is to get it restored and up and going again. I'm going to go ahead and put this machine back together, and thanks to the magic of video editing, this will only take a few seconds. Alright, about a couple seconds later, the machine's all back together now. Getting this thing aligned back in here was pretty fun, I'll tell you that much. But aside from that, it didn't go too bad. Floppy drive's all hooked up. The hard drive's not in here yet, but there's the power cable to it. And the logic board's connected back up. The yoke's connected back up. The fan, don't ever forget to plug the fan back in, because that guy goes right there. And it's a tough little cookie to get to. So, without further ado, let's grab a power cord and plug this bad boy in. Here we go, big, nice, and thick right angle one. Yeah, they don't make them like this anymore, that's for sure. Go ahead and plug her in. This is the first time power up. I have not turned this machine on yet, so you get to see what I get to see for the first time. Hey, we got a chime. Now, do we actually have an image? No, we do not. No picture. So, process of elimination. What could it be? Well, CRT filaments lighting. Maybe, I don't know what our settings are back here. I don't have a clue. But right now we have nothing. Nothing at all. Well, that's a disappointment. So let's do some further troubleshooting and see what happened. Turns out the CRT is just really, really weak. Because, well, here's the focus adjustment. No, this is a screen adjustment here. And I literally have to turn this thing all the way up just to see it. I mean, the CRT is just weak. It's extraordinarily weak. There's another issue too, that when I go to focus it, which reinforces the fact that the CRT itself is just dead, when I go to actually turn the focus adjustment, that's actually not my camera focus. That is the focus of the machine. I mean, it's bad. I'm trying to get it lined in, but it ain't. It just doesn't. If I can get it centered, focused, but the outer edges are not focusing, which is a common issue when the CRT is weak. So, yeah, you're gonna have that, I guess. So I'm gonna have to find a CRT for this thing, but whatever. I'm gonna come up with some kind of compromise, I guess. But the point of it is, other than the CRT being, you know, just completely crap, it does work. So what we're gonna do is we are gonna grab a keyboard and try it out. And since I don't feel like grabbing a big keyboard and mouse, let's grab something small. So go ahead and plug her in and give her a shot, I guess. Let's see, there's the Apple desktop bus plug right here. Okay, I'm done. Do I have a mouse? Yes, I have a mouse. Now, we don't have a disk, you know, handy that has boot files on it. I can go ahead and try one, make sure it sees it. Alright, eject motor works, and it is picking up the disk. So, we have successfully, to some degree, restored our floppy disk drive. Now, what we're going to do is, in case you're not aware of, this is only available in the Macintosh Classic and the Classic 2. You can actually boot this from an internal ROM disk by holding Command, Option, X, O at the same time. And it should boot into ROM. There might be Command Control XO. Oh, I don't have to use two hands here. And actually, I may have to restart the machine to do this. Yep, I think I do. Let's see if I can restart the... Yep, there she goes. Yep, you have to restart the machine. While restarting the machine, you have to hold Command Option X O, and it will boot from a hidden system disk that's in ROM. So what we should have here is a full 4 megabytes of RAM running System 6.0.3, and it is blurry, and that is actually the natural look of the CRT, because the CRT is just gone. I'm going to have to replace it. But other than that, we have a 400K ROM image, which contains System 6.0.3, and there's our brightness control panel, which not going to help me out. Let's see. It won't open that way, so what we're going to do is we're going to open up the control panel and do it this way. See, there it is, brightness. Make sure that works. Yes, it does. And that's as far as I can take it, which I don't need it that bright, because on camera it looks fairly decent. It looks better this way, nearly all the way down. I can barely see it, but the camera can work really well at it. So, alright, let's see, let's check our sounds. Let's see, there is no sound. That's loud. So, alright. Now, let's go check the operation of our floppy disk. And obviously it's not going to mount because, for one thing, that disk is write protected, and for two, this disk is probably shot. But it should recognize the disk, say that it's not a Macintosh formatted disk, and then spit it out. Yep, precisely as I predicted. Alright, perfect. So, what we're going to do, again, walk back to the computer room, and we're going to find a floppy disk that contains a Macintosh format, or better yet, we're just going to grab something that I can get my hands on quickly. These two guys right here should suffice. This should contain a couple of, I don't know what, but let's find out. One of these disks I think went bad, or at least the Macintosh PowerBook 180 wouldn't format it. So let's see. Not a Macintosh diskette. Well, let's initialize it, and it should fail, because I don't think this is a good disk. This will take a few minutes, so I'll go ahead and pause the video. Okay, now we're at the verifying format stage, and it failed. So, it's just I thought that disk is bad, or the heads could be bad on the floppy drive. That is also not out of the question. Let's try the other one. See what this one does. It should recognize some type of file system, because I believe that one is formatted. Ooh, that's not good. I believe that disk, or this drive, might be defective, or the heads on this drive are bad. But it is running System 6, so it may not support what that drive is formatted as. But we'll go ahead and give it a shot anyway. Why not? Nothing to lose but time, effort, and energy. Now, it is also possible the alignment of the heads itself could be off, which can cause disks to not read and to fail a format. The only way to get that, to fix that, is to have a known good disk and adjust the stepper motor, as I explained earlier in the video. That should bring it back in as long as there's nothing else wrong with the drive. No, the drive is bad. So I know this disc is not bad. I know that for a fact. But the drive is. The drive is defective. So we will have to do something about that. Probably put the heads into alignment or some crazy notion there. But you're going to find that more and more often these days. You're going to find these machines, even after lubricating the drive to be able to accept the disc correctly, still not be able to read it. You know, it's just inevitable. And there's not a whole lot we can do except try to clean the heads or realign the heads. But you know, as with tape, you know, cassette tape players, over time the sound quality gets worse and worse and worse no matter what you do. You can clean the heads and you can do whatever you want. It just, I think the heads break down over time. You know, or it loses magnetic permeability. There's so many forces at play here. It's impossible to know what's what. But who cares about the disk drive anyway, because there's a solution for that. I don't have one. But there is a floppy disk drive emulator you can buy that's in a little box and has a display on it. You can put your disk images on the SD card. So there is a solution for that. But in my case, I really don't need the boot disk because, well, for one, I have it in ROM. And two, I'm going to be using a zip drive to boot this thing anyway to do what I want it to do. So I don't even need the drive. But if you absolutely had to have the drive, you don't have a choice but to try to realign the heads. And you know what, I may add on to this video and do it anyway. You know, I may go ahead and just say the heck with it and try to fix the drive. But for now, I think I will conclude this video. There's really nothing further here. You know, everything seems to be working. And it also has Apple Talk, which is nice because you don't need a hard drive or a floppy disk. All you got to do is boot from ROM and you can access your file server from right here if you have one set up on Local Talk. You know, set up a file server and have all your stuff on a file server, plain as day. You know, you don't need anything more than that. Without further ado, this concludes the video. Thank you for watching, and if you have any comments, please leave them in the box below.